People call me a commie, socialist, champagne socialist. And I'm saying Chinese-style communist takeover, eminent domain. That shit's mine now. You guys f*** that up. We're taking every single person from Skid Row and we're putting them into that luxury high-rise condominium. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Perfect solution. I don't have investments.
Why?
So I think that was a major L for me, I guess. But because I'm so stubborn, I just, I can't shut the fuck up.
So the grifter socialist streamer Hasan has recently gone on the Iced Coffee Hour podcast, run by millionaire real estate investor Stephan, the Uber capitalist. So let's run through some highlights of this interesting conversation.
Hasan, thank you so much for coming on the Iced Coffee Hour. Everyone loved the first episode. We really appreciate it.
It was great. Honestly, I don't really get a lot of opportunity to just like talk without chat going 1,000 miles an hour on the side yelling at me. So it's like, I always appreciate it. Plus you guys did one thing that I really genuinely appreciated, which was fact check me, which ironically enough, of course, I was factually correct, but it was good. I appreciated that you guys were like, I would like draw up some numbers from Top Dome, and then you guys would be like, blip,
dude,
right
you were
there.
on it.
That was impressive.
Your facts and figures.
Yeah.
Most people always think that I'm just, rattling off numbers without knowing what the hell I'm talking about.
That's because he is, and Hasan is habitually wrong about tons of things.
No, I'm sure a lot of people do, but yeah, our editor was great in that, and they just got all the supporting evidence and sources and everything, so it was impressive.
Yeah, so it's interesting. We offered you a Starbucks, and you said you couldn't drink it, and here I am with a Starbucks.
You said you'd get canceled.
I would. Well, it's kind of funny that you guys immediately, as soon as I came in, you were like, "Do you want this water?" I was like, "No, I'm good."
It's not a setup, by the way. This is not on
I know.
purpose.
Which is funny because I'm drinking a Mountain Dew on my Pepsi.
Yeah.
I was in Australia like last week. It wasn't even an altercation. It was like a fan who came up to me and was like, "Oh, you're drinking Coke Zero. You need to stop drinking Coke Zero on stream. Like, you support BDS, which is boycott, divestments, and sanctions against Israel. Why are you doing that? Like, are you a supporter of Israel? Like, why are you doing that? Like, be a better ally to Palestinians."
The more he goes on, the more it actually does sound like an altercation. Can you imagine that? You're this millionaire socialist streamer, and then you're just one of your crazy fans who actually drinks the Kool-Aid runs up to you and starts haranguing you while you're enjoying your Coke or your Pepsi or whatever, your soda. I've always thought boycotts like these are so stupid. On Instagram, sometimes I'll see people I know being like, "Oh, we need to boycott these companies and, stick it to the man in some way," as though that'll make any kind of dent in their profits. It's just ridiculous. It's mostly for virtue signaling purposes.
And then I thought that was like a random, it was like a quick back and forth. I was just like, I laughed it off and I was like, haha, okay. Like, oh, is Pepsi okay? I was joking around because it's not actually a part of the official BDS sanction list. Like any other sanctioned companies, like Coca-Cola is not one of them. And I didn't want to get into a debate on stream with a fan. You know what I mean? I feel like that's just long and convoluted for no reason. But then they clipped it and then they posted it on Reddit and posted it all on Twitter. And they were like, Hasan is like, look at him, like woke guy gets owned by his own audience. Like, this is how goofy the left is and blah, blah, blah. It made it to Sky News Australia, Rupert Murdoch owned, just like Fox News. Sky News Australia made that into news. It has like 750,000 views on YouTube right now.
So what was like the agenda with Sky News? Like, why did they turn that into news?
Oh, they were like, lefties losing it. This Hasan dude, he's in Australia. Like, we don't have enough crazies in the country. That's what they were saying. I think the larger agenda overall is to just be like, let's not talk about Israel-Palestine. Let's talk about how crazy the left is.
I actually agree with Hasan here. That probably was the purpose of these media outlets making this a news story, was to basically deflect from what's actually going on over there. Does that make these boycotts not stupid? No. And Hasan is a complete tool and a detriment to society because he cultivates fan bases like these, but he is right on that account.
One thing to change the pace is we've had a broad range of people on our podcast recently, and this question is really interesting because we get a wide variety of answers based off of the person's politics usually. If you're poor in America today with no dependents, no disability, cognitive or physical, and you're between the ages of 25 and 60, Is it your fault?
No. What do you mean? Wait, sorry. Say it again.
If you're poor.
If you're poor?
Between the ages of
Oh, no,
25 and
absolutely
60, no disabilities,
I love
no
this question.
dependence,
No,
cognitive or physical,
No.
is it your fault?
No.
And why?
We are a product of our own material conditions, our environment.
You hear that phrase there, material conditions? This is where his Marxist materialist determinism comes in, and he just lets everyone off the hook on that basis. I know people who are poor, and it's because they're lazy. You know, your upbringing does affect how you behave, but at some point, people are actors in the world. People have agency. Even if they weren't set up for it in the best way, people still ultimately know the right things to do, and a lot of them don't do it.
And I do think that there is severe income inequality in this country still. There's not a lot of, there's a lot of racial inequality in this country still. I don't think that someone who was born into like drastically different conditions, like in Flint, Michigan, or in Detroit, or in forgotten parts of the country like the Appalachian region, like in West Virginia. I don't think that person's starting point is identical to someone who grew up in a nice neighborhood in Connecticut and had access to public schools or even private schools.
Our boy Hasan is pulling an LBJ reference there with that Appalachia is poor and needs help statement. For those of you who may not know, people in this area are some of the reddest voters in the entire United States. Lefties do not care about them and often demonize them. Like any sort of depiction of a hillbilly or an unfriendly, gun-toting yokel probably comes from this area or the South, which is in a similar economic situation, or was until very recently.
And their parents were able to afford healthcare. Their parents were able to afford the best education for them possible, a middle class education, but still a much better one overall. So I think that there's that aspect to it. There are a lot of people who do not get that leg up that shouldn't even really be a leg up. It should be the bottom, basically, like social safety nets that are offered to every single person unconditionally so that we can be a more productive labor force overall.
Hasan is shifting rightward in this conversation, and you can tell because of that. Social safety nets are necessary to make a more productive overall labor force argument that he just made, which is the sort of thing you would only ever catch Destiny saying. Very pragmatic, unusually pragmatic for Hasan, and I believe this has more to do with the Young Turks' shift rightward. Now, the Young Turks will probably be Republicans within the next 10 to 15 years. We can already sort of see the shift where Anna Kasparian is like coming out against the trans movement or whatever. And basically they've been alienated from the left. You know, they hopped on this train, it went too far, and now they're looking to get off. And Hasan here is the nephew, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, of Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks. Hasan is Cenk 2.0. He's edgy Cenk. He is the scion of Cenk. He will be Cenk in the near future when Cenk gets too old and Hasan will come and replace him. So I think this is a big part of why we are seeing Hasan sort of moderate and tone down his position in this interview on the Iced Coffee Hour. Because remember, Hasan is the type of man who not too long ago said that America deserved 9/11. Very anti-American. Very stalwartly leftist.
So whose responsibility is it for these people to not be poor?
Oh, I think it's the government's responsibility for sure. I think it's a policy failure overall.
But like your most moderate welfarist Democrat, he's still not going to let people be accountable for their own actions. Don't get my words twisted.
I mean, poor is relative, obviously, because a poor person in America is infinitely better off than a poor person in Rwanda, right? So if we're talking about poverty in America, if we're talking about that, we're comparing it to like whatever the middle is, right? Like below the middle. We're talking about elevating every single person and ensuring that their needs are met. It's still up to the system to provide them with the social safety nets, with the amenities, with the means to achieve some kind of fulfillment for themselves.
So what sort of policies do you think need to be in place to prevent that or help the situation?
I think right across the board, flattening out education is definitely one of the first things I believe. I mean, healthcare is really important.
The American public school system is a joke, but any of the reforms that Hasan will propose for it will also be terrible. What we need is a public school system that prepares the youth for real jobs in the real world, not learning how volcanoes work or something stupid like that.
So what advice would you give those people who are poor between the ages of 20 to 60, who are a victim of circumstance? What would you tell those people?
Get your money up, not your funny up. No, I mean, there is a lot you can do, obviously. There's a lot you can do in general, but like overall, I would, I don't know. I mean, I feel like
is it a lost cause?
I don't think it's a lost cause necessarily, but I also don't think that like, scheming in certain ways or trying to develop passive income or whatever is going to be the solution for every single person. Like, oh, you're going to become an entrepreneur and then you're going to start making money ultimately. Because there's plenty of people who try that and fail over and over again and never actually make it.
Hasan has no practical advice for impoverished people. Nothing. Nothing to say to them. Only to criticize part of the hustle and grind culture you see online. That's all this man has going on in his head. He has no idea how you, as an individual who is earning less than the average American, who may be barely scraping by, can improve your lot in life. Only, I don't think it's realistic that you're going to be an entrepreneur one day. That's all he's got to say. This guy is clueless.
I had to live a fairly ascetic lifestyle for a big chunk of my early 20s after college. I mean, I lived in the kitchen of a frat house, right? And I had 2 jobs at the same time. I was in the lowest tax bracket possible, making literally less than minimum wage because I had a sales position. So it was like, my bosses beforehand were able to get away with underpaying me in that regard because it's like I have to bring in commission on top of that. I was budgeting all the time in order not to get in the red. Still got in the red, overdraft fees, all that stuff. I mean, it was terrible. I still made it through.
So
but I
as
think
someone who's made it through, I feel like you should have valuable advice to people that are stuck in that position.
Hasan has no good advice because he's always been a trust fund baby. Even when he was living this ascetic lifestyle in a frat house. He's always had the social safety net of his parents to take care of him.
They remember it.
Can we get a quick, maybe 2 or so minute explanation of who you are for the viewers if it's their first time hearing from you?
I'm Hasan Piker. I am a Turkish-American political commentator. I stream on Twitch every day. I have a YouTube page, TikTok, I have it all. Came to the United States of America when I was 18 years old. I grew up in Turkey. And I studied political science communication. First, I went to University of Miami, transferred to Rutgers, graduated from Rutgers with honors. And then I got a job. I was looking for jobs like crazy after college. Didn't mean anything because I did not have like the networking opportunities or the relationships that like other people had at the time with other companies that they could normally work at. So I worked for my uncle as a salesperson at the Young Turks. Some of you might know that. It was at the time a 26-person like independent news YouTube channel. And I built their entire advertisement sales and operations, all the back end, did all the cold calling for a couple of years. And during that process, while I was doing that, I was like, this sucks. I hate this. I hate sales.
Isn't it so interesting to hear Hasan Piker talk about how he worked at the Young Turks and his takeaway is, I hate sales. He doesn't even tell you what angle his political commentary is coming from. In the next couple of months to years, we will be witnessing the rise of Mr. Moderate and Pragmatic Hasan Piker.
And how would you describe your political ideology as a label?
I don't really like labels when it comes to political ideology. People call me a commie, socialist, champagne socialist, leftist. I would say, a progressive person who believes that everyone should be able to pursue a life of dignity and find free moments and have some autonomy and have a sense of purpose in their own lives.
I'm just a progressive, coming from the man who said that America deserved 9/11. Of course he's trying to walk this back and seem respectable now. What a ridiculous man. People call him all these names, but I honestly think he looks like Turkish Harry Potter. That's what people should be calling him with those glasses. Someone could just draw a lightning bolt on his forehead and it'd be perfect. Anyway, that's it for this video, and you heard it here first. Hasan and the Young Turks will be quote-unquote right-wing before you know it, because that's apparently where their business model and financial incentives have led them. But that is it for this video, and Red Channels will catch you in the next one.